Assalamu alaikum dear students. Welcome to the last online lecture presented by PEST under the supervision of Honorable Principal. Dear students, this is grade 7. The subject is English and I'm your teacher Shahid Ali. Dear students, as you know, before this lecture we finished 47 lectures. I hope you understood those lectures well and will try to learn this lecture as well. Dear students, this is lecture number 48, and basically this is the remaining part of the previous lecture lesson number 6, Cymbeline, the king of the Britain. Dear students, as you know, in that lesson a huge gap came between the husband Posthumus and wife Imogen because of the a cunning behavior or cunning character person, Aichimo, he created a huge gap between these two, husband and wife, by lying. Okay, to each party, he told lie and he created a gap between them. So, dear student, in today's lesson, we will read about what happened at the end to Imogen and Posthumus, and similarly, at the end, they rejoined with her brothers. They were stolen in their early childhood. Similarly, Cymbeline found his daughter at the end, find his daughter at the end, and his two stolen sons also. So at the end, the story is very interesting, dear student. So read it carefully. Let's start the remaining part of the lesson. This is remaining part of lesson number 6, the fairy. Bassanio leapt and went to look for Caius Losius. Imogen walked toward the coast. Dear student, this is the place where Imogen is ready to go with a general who is going from Cymbeline court to Rome. And Imogen want to meet in this way want to go to Rome to meet her husband who is now hating her because of the lie, and the first Thomas is considering her as unfaithful wife. So, dear students, now this is the scene. But lost her way in a forest after 2 weary days of wandering about. She came to a cave, no one was there, but she saw food and some furniture. The cave was someone's home. Being extremely hungry, she went and sat down on the table and began to eat some of the food. Then she heard voices. 3 people, an old man and 2 young men, came to the cave entrance. Okay, the place where someone is entering, it is called entrance to a place. They were talking about what they were going to eat for their supper, their meal. The old man looked in and saw Imogen there eating. Wait, boys, he whispered. Tongue, let's talk is called whispering. He told to the others, keep still, there's something in here. If it were not eating our food, I would think it was a fairy. Okay, I tell. What is it, sir? Asked one of the young men, but the old man could not take his face off the stranger. I do believe it really is a fairy, he said. Have you ever seen such beauty in someone no older than a boy? At that time, dear student, the Imogen was in the shape of a boy. She changed the clothes like a boy and looking like her appearance was like a boy. Okay, Imogen looked up and was quite frightened, afraid at the sight of 3 faces staring at her, looking at her. They looked rough and dangerous. Okay, she thought she was in trouble. She jumped up from the table and away from the entrance. Good sirs, please don't hurt me, I shouted to see if there was anyone here before I came in. I was going to beg for what I needed. They came closer to her. She stuck her hand into her purse and took out some coins, some money. Look, here's some money for you. I shall pay for the food I have eaten. I was going to leave it on the table before I left anyway. Money, young man, said one of the two young men, as if he was uncertain what the word mean, what the money mean. Okay, they were not uh, uh, aware of the money. Dirty rubbish, okay, baseless thing are useless rubbish, nothing. Okay, shouted the other. That's what the money is, and so all those who concern themselves with it, rubbish, they are just dull, nothing, useless. Brothers, dear students, basically these two are the real brothers of Imogen who were stolen. They were stolen in their early childhood, but at this situation they don't know each other. At the end, they will realize each other. Imogen was even more frightened. "Ah, now I have made you angry," she said quickly. "But let me just tell you, if you are going to kill me for taking your food, I would have died anyway from not taking it because she was too much hungry. I have not eaten for days. Where you are going?" asked the first man, the young man, roughly. Okay? "Melford Haven." "Your name?" demanded the other. "Fiddle, sir," said Imogen quickly, making up a name for herself. "I was on my way to Milford Haven to meet a relative, then almost dead with hunger. I came to your care. I walked in to get something to eat. I thought no one would mind. I see now how wrong it was." Imogen began to cry. "Oh, never mind about all that," the old man interrupted. The old man stopped the situation in the middle. Interruption means that he pushed the other two out of the way. "Look, my fine young fellow, you must not take us for low, common people. Don't judge us by the look of this rough place we live in. It's good to have you here. Really, it is, and there is plenty to eat." He pointed to some large piece of cool meat on the table and asked her to help herself, which made Imogen cry even more. Now, the old man added, taking her arm, "there will be something much better than that before long. We have been hunting, and we have some fresh meat here. We shall be very pleased to have you stay and share your dinner with us. Boys, come along. Now make the young man welcome." The two young men began to smile at her. Imogen sighed with relief. Now she is feeling a little bit better. "If you were a woman," said one of the young men, who thought Imogen looked surprisingly beautiful, "I would want to be your sweetheart." "So you are very welcome here, Fiddle," said the other, holding out his hand. "Come along now. Be careful, for you are among friends. It's good enough for me that you are a man. I shall love you as my brother." Symbol sons. Dear students, now later it will realize for each and every other, it will clear for each and every other that really these two are the real brothers of Imogen and the sons of the king of the Britain, Cymbeline. Although no one realized it at the time, the two younger men were Imogen's long, long lost brothers, Gaidarius and Ariages. They had been stolen from Cymbelin's court by the old man who was one of the Cymbelin's lords. His name was Belarius. Belarius had been sent into exile, sent to another country from his own country by Cymbeline. He had thought this was very unjust. He had stolen the little boys in order to take his revenge. He had planned to kill them. However, he found that he could not bear to be so cruel, so he took them to live with him in the forest. He told them his name was Morgan. He did not use their own names either, but called them Polydor and Kedwal. They grew up to be strong, healthy young men, thinking that Belarius or Morgan was their father. Because of this, Imogen had no idea who they really were. Imogen was very tired and she felt quite ill too. She was glad to be allowed to stay in the cave for a while. She cooked the evening meal, and her cooking skills surprised the three men. Her gentle ways and graceful manners pleased them. She became great friends with the young men during the few days she stayed there. When there was no more food, Belarius and the two brothers went out to hunt. Imogen, who was still weak from the time she had spent lost in the forest, remained behind. Thoughts of her husband's cruelty and of her troubles made her unhappy. Too, feeling ill, she took the medicine Pisanio had given her, thinking it would cure her. Immediately she fell into a deep sleep. And they returned. The brothers found Imogen lying still and lifeless. Ariages noticed that nothing, not even being touched or moved, would wake her. He thought she was dead. He carried her out of a shady spot in the forest and laid her on the grass. Then the three men sang funeral songs and funeral songs and covered her with the leaves and flowers. They went away sorrowing that their new young friend was dead. Dear students, to hear the story is very interesting. They don't know each other because of the trouble and the hardship. Imogen is feeling ill, and because of the medicine she took, he is now senseless, and the brothers are considering her as a dead. Okay, let's move to another page. When the effect of the medicine wore off finished, Imogen woke up. She felt quite well. She could not find her way back to the cave and her friends. She began to think it had all been a dream. So verily she set out for Melford Haven. Imogen joined the army. Now, dear students, here she will join an army coming from Rome. Meanwhile, strange events were happening. The Roman emperor had sent the general Lucius back to Britain with an army while Imogen was in the forest. The general and his army were marching through that area on their way to the palace of King Cymbeline. As Thomas had come to Britain with the Roman army, he still felt that Imogen had been unfaithful to him. He believed Pisanio had carried out his order to kill her, as he had received a letter from Pisanio which made him think Pisanio had obeyed him. Instead of being pleased, however, he was very sorry for what he had done. He remembered how much he used to love his dear wife. Postumus decided that he would leave the Roman army and fight for his own country, Britain, against the Romans. He cared little for his life now. He was ready to die fighting or be killed by Cymbeline for returning from exile without uh, permission. IHMO, this is a person who created this trouble for both wife and husband. He told lie, and because of that lie, because of that cunningness, he created a gap between the lover and his beloved wife. Iachimo had come to Britain with the Roman army too. Imogen, still dressed as a young man, was in the forest when the Roman army marched by. General Lucius found her and took her into his service as his assistant and page boy, okay, as a boy who is serving them. When Guiderius and Ariages heard from the soldiers that a battle would soon begin, they set out to join the British army. Valerius went with them, even though he was quite an old man. In the great battle, that followed, the Britons did badly at first. They were forced to retreat, and for a while Cymbeline life was in danger. Then the great bravery of Postumus, old Belarius, and the two brothers, all of all of whom fought very hard against the Romans, gave the Britons time to prepare for another attack. They returned to the battle and took the Romans by surprise. Finally, the Romans were defeated. General Lucius the Deceitful, Aichemu, this is a person who created this problem. Aichemu and Imogen, still dressed as a boy, were taken prisoner and brought before the king. Postumus had wished to die in battle because of his grief as Imogen's death. Not finding death, he gave himself up to the Cymbeline soldiers, who took him to the king. He was brought before the king at the same time as the three prisoners from the Roman army. With the king were a number of British lords, okay, landlords. Pisanio and Belarius with the two brothers, the queen and her son Cloten, were not there. They were both dead. Cloten had been killed in a quarrel, in a fight, the queen failing in her plan to arrange the marriage between Imogen to Cloten, and feeling guilty about her own wickedness, had fallen sick and died soon afterwards. King Cymbeline announced that it was the wish of his people that the Roman prisoners should be killed. General Lucius begged the king to spare the life of his innocent young page boy, who was basically Imogen. Okay, she was Imogen, but at that time looking like a boy in boy dress, who was a Breton, and he said loyal, obedient, hard-working, and very kind. Dear student, now here the king will recognize his both son and Imogen, okay, and will forgive all of them. The king found his children again. Cymbeline looked at Imogen. He did not recognize his daughter, yet he liked the look of the young man. Lucius, page boy, reminded him of someone. Though the king was not sure who it was, the king said that he would not punish the young man. In fact, he liked him so much that he would give him anything he asked for. Lucius, who thought his words had saved Imogen, now expected that Imogen would ask the king to spare his life. Imogen, however, had something else in mind. She had noticed the diamond ring which she had given to Postumus and Iachimo fingers. She asked the king that Iachimo should be made to tell her everything he knew about how he had got the ring. Cymbeline said Iachimo must speak the truth. Fearfully, Iachimo told the story of his bit with Postumus and the cunning way he had won it. Postumus heard this confession, and last the truth was clear. Imogen had always been faithful to him, but it was too late to do anything about it now. He thought he had been the one who had ordered her death. Sick with grief, he stepped before the king. He confessed now because of Iachimo's lies. He had ordered Pisanio to kill the princess Imogen. Imogen could no longer bear to see her husband, so full of sorrow she revealed who she really was, turning his grief into joy. Cymbeline too was overjoyed to have his daughter back. In this happiness he approved her marriage, and he freed Posthumus from the sentence of banishment of exile. There was more joy to come for the old king. Belarius confessed that the two young men with him were really the king's long lost sons, Guiderius and Arviragus. Cymbeline, who had thought just a short while before this that he had no children at all, now rejoiced at having all three of his children back so unexpectedly. He was so happy that he forgave Belarius for stealing the boys and welcomed him to his court. Cymbeline also spared the life of Gaius Lucius, who, with his help, peace was made with the Roman emperor. The Roman and the British flags once more flew in peace together. Even the false IHMO went unpunished since everything had ended so well. Dear students, this was the end of this novel, this was the end of this lesson. You can see that how the two lovers, husband and his wife, rejoiced again at the end of this lesson. How the two stolen sons met with their parent, with their father, Cymbeline, and you know how a cunning mood, a cunning person did between the husband and wife, and how he created a game between men, the lover and her beloved. So, dear students, I hope you enjoyed this well. I hope you will learn it well and will try to memorize the demanded question at the exercise. Dear students, here are some sentences given, and blanks are here in these sentences. Just three names given, and we are demanded that we should put the correct name in the space. So here I wrote the name according to the demand and according to the requirement of the sentence. You can find IHMO and Posthumus made a bit about whether British ladies were faithful to their husband. They agreed that IHMO would go to the Britain to try to win the love of Imogen. If Imogen accepted his love, IHMO would make her give him the bracelet that Posthumus had given her. When IHMO returned to Rome, the bracelet would prove to Posthumus that Imogen had been an unfaithful wife. IHMO succeeded. Posthumus would give IHMO the ring that Imogen had given him. Dear students, these are the names I wrote according to the model sentence. If there is any correction or any suggestion from your side, it will be highly appreciated. So, dear student, we did from our side a lot of a lot of and our aim is to improve your education. Our aim is to improve. The first aim is to improve your level in education. The aim of first is to enhance your level and to boost your capability. Dear student, I did my best. Hope you will learn and hope you will get benefit from my lectures. And dear student, this was the last lecture of English for grade 7. I will pray for your bright future, and my prayer and benedictions are for your bright future. And may Allah grant you success and happiness in your life. If life remains, inshallah, see you in the next class or in the next subject or any other lecture. So, up to date. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.